I didn't handle it perfectly. Just take that for a given. I think that's the precursor that I want to give before ever talking to anybody about a conflict that I've been in with somebody else. When we have a conflict with somebody, and there's something going on, one of the ways that we work through it is by going to somebody else and talking about it. And I find that I inherently want to, even still, soften edges of the story that make me look not so great, or prove that I didn't handle things absolutely perfectly. Even if I feel like overall I handled things very well, I sometimes still feel like I'm doing a bit of lie by omission when I'm telling somebody about this conflict that I had. I try to keep the facts as they are, but, I just try not to overemphasize some things, that maybe make me look not so good. Why am I doing that? Well, it's because I want to assume the role of the protagonist in this telling of the story. I want to be the person that did everything right and merely had something happen to him. I was wronged in some way, and I returned no wrong in return. Returned in return. You get what I mean. But that's a strain that I'm doing, to uphold that egoic image of somebody who doesn't make mistakes even when faced with conflict. That person who never makes mistakes even when faced with conflict doesn't exist. They just do not. And even, again, when you handle things very well, as I think I do with most of the conflicts that I find myself in, given a few years of contemplation, obviously I'm going to see 5,000 things that I could have done just a little bit better. This message that I sent with a word that I should have used instead of a different word. I waited a day before saying this. I should have waited 2 or 3 days before saying this. Better timing. Oh, I told this person in the midst of it, I really should not have gotten that person involved. All these different examples of ways that you will find that you could have done things better. Sometimes it's one single day. Or sometimes, haven't we all been in the situation where even just a few minutes after we said what we said, we're like, oh boy, if I could take those words back. I think there is still a therapeutic value to sharing with people about this conflict that you were in and the lessons that you're getting from it. And sometimes it is even good to tell somebody that you know is probably going to take your side. But we should ease up on the necessity of just always being the person who handled everything perfectly. I didn't handle things perfectly. Just take that for a given. It's similar to how I've talked about with, I get nervous about sharing ideas here because I want to make sure that they're evergreen and stand the eternal test of time, and nothing that I say will stand the eternal test of time because I will continue gaining wisdom and life experience as I get older. That same thing applies to the conflicts with people that we find ourselves in. Do I really want Joe from 50 or 60 years from now to handle his conflicts only as well as I do currently? No, of course not. I mean, by that point, I want him to have developed his psychic powers enough to just make people stop saying things that upset him in the first place. But the development of psychic powers is a very, very slow process. But Professor Xavier says that I'm doing a pretty good job. And of course, the perfectionistic side of the brain sometimes says, well, if you lived a pure enough life, you just wouldn't get in any conflict in the first place. There will always be conflict in life, no matter what. I remember asking my spiritual teacher, in a community of nothing but fully enlightened people, does any sense of conflict still arise? He says, oh yeah, no, conflict is always going to arise between people. But what's going to change is your relationship to conflict. And I think two enormous things that are changing for me about conflict with my relationship to it is I'm changing the aversion that I have to it, because it cannot be indefinitely averted. And I'm changing the need to always be on the correct side. Or rather, we could flip that around and say, everybody's always on the correct side of their conflict. Because everything is just exactly as it's supposed to be. And you, whether you handle it perfectly or not, you have handled every single... Let's try that again. You have handled every single conflict you've ever been in exactly the way that you were supposed to.